If you hear your dead mother call your name from the woods, you don't answer. I wish someone had told me that 6 years ago. It was late October when I went back to the forest behind my childhood home. I hadn't walked those trails since the funeral. After my mom died, the trees felt different, taller, quieter, like they were listening. That evening, I told myself I just needed air. The house felt suffocating. Too many memories pressed into the walls. Her mug still in the cabinet. Her handwriting on old grocery lists. I grabbed a flashlight and headed out before I could change my mind. The forest was the same as always. Narrow dirt path, damp leaves, the smell of cold earth settling in for winter. The sun had already dipped low enough to turn everything gray-blue. I walked deeper than I meant to. There's a part of the trail where the trees grow closer together, bending inward like ribs. As a kid, I used to imagine it was a tunnel to somewhere else. Mom would laugh when I told her that. She always walked a few steps ahead of me, turning back every so often to make sure I was still there. That memory hit me so hard I actually stopped walking. And that's when I heard it. Daniel! I froze. The voice wasn't loud. It wasn't a scream or a whisper. It was just normal, gentle, close. My name again, a little clearer this time. Daniel, honey? Every muscle in my body locked up. It was her voice. Not similar, not close, not my mind playing tricks on me. It was my mother. 6 years ago, I stood beside a hospital bed and listened to that voice fade into a machine's flatline. I watched them zip her into a black bag. I saw the casket lowered into the ground. There are certain sounds you don't forget, and that was one of them. Daniel. This time it came from somewhere behind me. I turned slowly. The path was empty. The trees stood perfectly still. No wind, no movement, just the quiet. My heart was beating so hard it made my vision pulse. I told myself there was an explanation. Auditory hallucination, stress, memory overlap. The brain does strange things when it's grieving. But grief doesn't make the leaves crunch. And I heard that too. One careful step, somewhere off the trail. I didn't move, couldn't. Then her voice came again, softer now. I can't see you. It sounded confused, lost. And that was the worst part, because that's exactly what she used to say when we played hide and seek in these woods. I hadn't thought about that game in over a decade. Daniel, where are you? The voice was closer now. Close enough that if I closed my eyes, I could almost picture her standing just beyond the trees, waiting for me to step off the path. And for a second, just a second, I almost did. I should have run. Every instinct I had, every survival reflex buried in bone and blood, was telling me to turn around and get out of that forest. But grief is a dangerous thing. It makes you want to believe impossible things. Mom, I heard myself say. The word slipped out before I could stop it. Silence followed, heavy. Then, there you are. The voice came from my left this time. Closer, too close. The trees were dense there, branches woven together like fingers. I couldn't see more than a few feet in. My flashlight trembled in my hand as I raised it, the beam slicing through trunks and shadow. Nothing, no figure, no movement. But I could feel it, that awful sensation of being watched from somewhere you can't quite focus on. You've gotten taller, the voice said softly. My breath caught. That wasn't something my mother would say now. It was something she used to say when I was 13, before she got sick, before the hospital smell replaced her perfume, before I had to pretend to be strong for her. You shouldn't be here, I whispered. The leaves shifted again. A slow circle around me, not stepping forward, not retreating, just repositioning. Oh, Daniel, she sighed. You always were dramatic. My stomach dropped. That was her phrase, word for word, the exact tone she used whenever I overreacted to something small. I hadn't heard it since the year she died. I miss you, the voice continued. Why don't you come closer so I can see your face? My throat tightened. Sounded right. sounded warm, but there was something slightly off. The pacing, the rhythm, like someone reciting lines they'd memorized but didn't fully understand. "You're not her," I said louder this time. The forest answered with silence. Then, "You still sleep with the hallway light on." My knees nearly gave out. I had never told anyone that. After she died, I couldn't handle the dark. Not complete darkness. I'd leave the hallway light on and crack my bedroom door just enough so that a thin strip of yellow light cut across the floor. I was 24 years old and still afraid of what the dark might bring. "I know," the voice said gently. "I know about the shoebox under your bed too." Cold flooded through me. The shoebox, tucked all the way in the back, beneath winter blankets, filled with hospital wristbands. Her last birthday card, the voicemail I recorded on an old phone because I couldn't bear to delete it. No one knew about that box. No one. The leaves crunched again, this time directly behind me. I didn't turn. Couldn't. "I watched you open it last week," the voice whispered. "You cried harder than you did at the funeral." Something brushed against the back of my jacket. Not grabbing, just grazing, like fingertips. "You don't have to miss me anymore," it said. "I'm right here." The forest felt smaller suddenly, like the trees had leaned in closer without moving. I finally forced myself to speak. "If you're really her," I said, my voice shaking, "tell me what you said to me the last night in the hospital." Silence, longer this time. For a moment, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe I'd broken whatever this was. Then, "You know what I said." The tone had changed, less gentle now, less patient. I swallowed. "Say it." Another pause, and when the voice came back, it was closer than my own breath. I said, "Don't let me go." That wasn't what she said. Not even close. My mother's last words to me were, "You'll be okay." Not desperate, not clinging. She had been comforting me. Whatever was in the trees, it was guessing, and it was getting impatient. For the first time since I'd heard it, I felt something stronger than fear. Anger. "You're lying," I said. The forest went still. Not quiet, still. Like everything inside it had paused to listen. "That's not what she said." The air behind me felt heavier, warmer. "You don't remember correctly," the voice replied, and now it was layered, almost doubled, like two versions slightly out of sync. "You were crying. You weren't listening." I turned around. I don't know what I expected to see. A shape, a shadow, some distortion in the trees. There was nothing, but the space between the trunks looked wrong, darker than it should have been. Not like absence of light, like presence of something else. "You let me go," it said. The words came from everywhere at once. "You walked out of the room." My chest tightened. I had walked out, just for a minute. I couldn't watch the monitors anymore. I'd stepped into the hallway to breathe. I'd always hated myself a little for that. "You weren't there," it continued softly. "You left me alone." That was when I understood. It didn't know everything. It knew what I remembered most vividly. The guilt, the shoebox, the hallway light. It wasn't pulling facts from nowhere. It was pulling from me. "You don't miss me," it said. And now the tone had flattened completely. No imitation of her softness. "You miss what you think you lost." The darkness between the trees shifted. Not stepping, not walking, just adjusting, like something tall was unfolding. My body finally unlocked. I stepped backward onto the path. "I don't have to stay," I said, more to myself than to it. The leaves crackled sharply to my right, then my left. "You came to me," it reminded. "You walked into my woods." My woods. The voice wasn't even trying anymore. It was deeper now, hollow, as if the forest itself had found a mouth. "You opened the door." The branches above me creaked, though there was no wind. "You said my name first." That was true. I had. The guilt twisted inside me, but I forced myself to hold onto the one solid thing I knew. My mom told me I'd be okay, I said firmly. She didn't ask me to stay. Silence. The darkness thinned, just slightly. She let me go, I continued, my voice steadier now. Not the other way around. For a long second, nothing happened. Then the forest exhaled. The pressure lifted. The space between the trees returned to normal shadow. The air felt cold again instead of close and breathing. No voice, just the distant rustle of leaves and my own shaking breath. I didn't wait. I walked, then jogged, then ran the entire way back to the house without looking over my shoulder once. I locked the door behind me, checked every window, turned on every light. Took hours for my heartbeat to slow down. Eventually, sometime past midnight, exhaustion won. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the thin strip of hallway light cutting across the floor. I almost laughed. Then my phone buzzed. The sound made me flinch so hard I nearly dropped it. Unknown number. I stared at the screen for a long time before opening it. One missed call, time-stamped 12 minutes earlier. The caller ID didn't say unknown. It displayed a contact name, a name I hadn't deleted. Mom. My hands went numb. Slowly, carefully, I opened the contact details. The number was hers, the same one that had been disconnected 6 years ago. I told myself it was a glitch, some kind of carrier error, data corruption. But there was something new beneath the call log, a voicemail icon. I don't know how long I sat there staring at it. I still haven't pressed play, because part of me already knows what it's going to say. And I'm not sure if it will sound like her, or like the forest. If I had known the mountains could listen, I never would have spoken her name out loud. Mara and I had been together for 3 years when we decided to take that trip to the Appalachian Mountains. We just moved in together, and everything felt like it was finally settling into place. The cabin we rented sat miles from the nearest town, tucked deep in the woods where cell service flickered in and out like a dying pulse. The drive up was beautiful. Rolling blue ridges stacked endlessly against the horizon. Mist clung to the peaks like something alive, shifting and curling as if it were breathing. Mara loved it instantly. It feels ancient, she said, staring out the window. Ancient wasn't the word I would have chosen. By the time we reached the cabin, dusk had already begun to swallow the sky. The structure was old, older than it looked in the listing photos. The wood was warped in places, the porch sagging slightly to one side. Wind chimes hung from the rafters. Though there was no wind, they clicked together softly anyway. Inside, it smelled faintly of damp wood and something herbal. Not unpleasant, just unfamiliar. The first strange thing happened before we even unpacked. Mara was in the bedroom when I heard her laugh. Not a full laugh, just a soft, amused exhale. I stepped into the hallway. "What?" I asked. She looked at me oddly. "You called me." "No, I didn't." She frowned. "I heard you. You said my name." From outside, a draft slipped down the hallway then, cold enough to raise goosebumps along my arms. The windows were shut. We brushed it off. Old cabins make noises. The woods play tricks on your ears. That night, we built a fire in the stone pit outside. The forest around us was dense, thick trunks stretching upward like pillars holding up the dark. No crickets, no distant animal calls, just the fire snapping between us. "You hear that?" Mara whispered. I listened. Nothing. Then I heard it. The third breath. Not mine. Not hers. Slow. Measured. Somewhere just beyond the reach of the firelight. I stood quickly, scanning the tree line. "Hello!" Silence. The fire popped loudly and Mara flinched. We both laughed nervously, pretending the tension wasn't climbing our spines. But as we went back inside, I glanced once more at the woods. For just a second, less than a heartbeat, I thought I saw something standing between the trees, not moving, just watching, and I had the distinct, unshakable feeling that whatever it was had been there long before we arrived. I didn't sleep that first night. Mara did, or at least she pretended to. Around 2:17 a.m., I woke to the sound of knocking. Not at the front door, under the floor. 3 slow knocks, then silence. I held my breath, staring at the ceiling. The cabin stood on short stilts because of the uneven mountain ground. There was space beneath us, enough for animals, or something else. Another knock, closer this time, directly beneath the bedroom. "Mara," I whispered. She was already awake. I could tell by the way her hand tightened around mine. "You hear it too," she said. Before I could answer, the knocking stopped, and something began circling the cabin. We heard footsteps in the gravel outside. Slow, dragging. Not the light scurry of an animal, this had weight to it. "Attention." Completed one full circle, then another, always stopping briefly beneath the bedroom window. I forced myself up and moved toward the curtain. Mara grabbed my arm. "Don't." But I looked anyway. The yard was empty. The fire pit was nothing but gray ash. The tree line stood still and dark. No movement. No silhouette. Yet the footsteps continued. The sound didn't match what I was seeing. That was the worst part. Eventually, it stopped. Not fading away, just stopping. Like whoever it was had reached a decision. We didn't sleep after that. Morning came gray and heavy. The mountains were wrapped in fog so thick the world beyond the porch looked erased. Mara barely spoke while making coffee. "I had a dream," she said finally. "What about?" She hesitated. "That someone was standing at the edge of the bed, watching us." I swallowed. "That's just stress." She nodded, but her eyes drifted toward the bedroom doorway. Later that afternoon, we decided to hike one of the nearby trails. It felt safer than sitting in that cabin, waiting for night to come again. The trail began normally enough. Dense forest, filtered sunlight, the scent of pine and damp earth. But about a mile in, the atmosphere shifted. The woods grew quieter, too quiet. Even our footsteps sounded muffled. That's when we found the clearing. It wasn't on the map. In the center stood a circle of stacked stones, deliberate, balanced carefully on top of one another. In the middle of the circle lay something small and pale. Mara stepped closer before I could stop her. It was a bundle of twigs tied together with what looked like braided hair. Human hair. At least I think it was. Mara stared at it with this distant expression. Not fear. Not confusion. Recognition. "It's beautiful," she whispered. A cold rush went through me. "We need to go." But she didn't move. Then, from somewhere deep in the trees behind us, a voice, soft, clear, said her name. Not the way I would say it. Not with warmth. With ownership. Mara took one slow step toward the sound. And I realized with absolute certainty, whatever had been watching us the night before wasn't wandering. It had been waiting. "Mara," I said sharply. She didn't blink. The voice came again, closer this time, not loud, not echoing, just present. Her name, drawn out slowly, like it was being tasted. The trees ahead of us shifted, not with wind, but with subtle movement. A shape passing between trunks, tall, wrong somehow, not bent by branches, not avoiding obstacles, gliding. I grabbed her wrist. "We're leaving. Now." She resisted for half a second. That half second terrified me more than anything. Then she gasped like someone surfacing from underwater. "Did you hear that?" "Yes." Her face drained of color. My stomach dropped. We turned and started back down the trail. At first, walking quickly, then faster. The woods didn't look the same. The trail we'd come in on felt narrower, twisted, roots pushing up like veins beneath skin. The fog rolled in thick and sudden, swallowing distance. After maybe 10 minutes of walking, I realized something that made my chest tighten. We weren't descending anymore. We were climbing. That's not right, I muttered. Mara stopped. We've been walking downhill this whole time. We turned around. The path behind us looked identical to the one ahead. Same split rock, same crooked birch, same broken branch shaped like a hook. Perfect mirror. And then, knocking. 3 slow knocks, from somewhere beneath the ground. The sound vibrated through the soil under our feet. Mara's nails dug into my arm. It's under us. The earth just beyond the trail shifted slightly, like something pressing upward from below. Then I heard my own voice, behind us, calling her name. Soft, calm, inviting. We ran. Branches tore at our clothes. The fog thickened until I could barely see her silhouette in front of me. And the entire time, footsteps kept pace just out of sight. Never gaining, never falling behind. When the cabin finally came into view, I felt a surge of relief so strong it almost made me collapse. We slammed the door behind us. Silence. No footsteps. No knocking. Just the cabin. Mara was shaking. It can't come inside. I wanted to believe that. That night, we didn't light a fire. We locked every window, pushed the kitchen table against the door. Around midnight, exhaustion dragged us into a shallow, uneasy sleep on the living room floor. I woke to warmth against my face. Sunlight. The air felt normal again. Still, peaceful. Mara was gone. I sat up so fast my vision blurred. Mara! No answer. The front door stood open, just slightly. Outside, the mountains were clear for the first time since we'd arrived. Blue ridges stretching endlessly under a bright sky. At the edge of the tree line, I saw her, standing perfectly still, facing away from the cabin. I ran toward her. Mara, what are you doing? She turned slowly and smiled, but it wasn't relief. It wasn't confusion. It was recognition. Her voice was calm, too calm. You shouldn't have said my name out there. A chill swept through me. I didn't. She tilted her head, almost sympathetically. Yes, she whispered. You did. Behind her. If you ever go to the Appalachian Mountains, don't leave the cabin after midnight. I didn't believe in that kind of superstition. I still don't exactly, but if I could go back to that night, I would have locked the door and swallowed my pride. It was supposed to be a quiet weekend getaway. Just me and Emma. Just trees stretching for miles in every direction. Thick and endless, like the world stopped at the tree line. The cabin was old but sturdy. 1 room downstairs, a loft bed above, and a narrow hallway that led to a bathroom barely big enough to turn around in. The wind pushed against the wooden walls like it was testing them. Around 11:40 p.m., Emma realized she'd left her bag in the car. It's fine, I told her. We can grab it in the morning. My inhaler's in there, she said, already pulling on her boots. I offered to go, but she insisted. It's right outside. I'll be 2 minutes. I watched her step out onto the porch. The forest swallowed her almost instantly. The porch light barely reached the first line of trees. 2 minutes passed, then 5. At 10 minutes, I opened the door and called her name. My voice didn't travel far. The trees absorbed it. At 15 minutes, I grabbed my flashlight. I had just stepped off the porch when I saw her walking back from the direction of the car. She moved slowly, too slowly. You okay? I asked. Yeah, she said. Her voice sounded normal, maybe a little flat. What took so long? I couldn't find it at first. She walked past me into the cabin without touching me. That was the first thing that felt wrong. Emma always brushed against me when she passed, even by accident. Inside, she set her bag down and looked at me. Not smiled, just looked. Everything is fine, I told myself. You're in the middle of nowhere. Your brain is just filling in the silence with fear. We went to bed around 1 a.m. That's when I noticed she barely blinked. We were lying face to face in the dim cabin light. Her eyes stayed open longer than they should have. When she did blink, it felt deliberate, like she remembered she was supposed to. "You're staring," I said, half joking. She didn't respond right away. Then, 3 seconds later, "You're staring." Same tone, same rhythm. I laughed. "Very funny." Another pause. "Very funny." My chest tightened a little. "Emma?" "Yes." But she didn't say my name back. She just answered like a machine responding to a prompt. Eventually, she turned away and lay on her back. I waited for the soft rhythm of her breathing. It never came. At first I thought I just couldn't hear it over the wind outside. So I shifted closer. Her chest wasn't moving. I held my own breath to be sure. Nothing. She was perfectly still. Eyes closed. Mouth slightly open. Not breathing. I reached out slowly and placed my hand just below her nose. No air. I jerked my hand back like I'd touched something hot. "Emma," I whispered. Her eyes opened immediately. Too fast. "Yes." She hadn't taken a breath. I told myself she must have been breathing so lightly I couldn't feel it. That's what I told myself. But when she fell asleep again, she didn't move, didn't shift, didn't breathe. And sometime around 3 a.m., I started to feel like there were 3 of us in that cabin. Not 2. I didn't sleep. I lay there in the dark, listening to nothing. That was the worst part, the silence. No shifting wood. The Appalachian Mountains had been loud all night, branches scraping the cabin, leaves rustling. But sometime after 3 a.m., it stopped, like someone had pressed mute on the forest. Emma was still beside me, on her back, mouth slightly open, not breathing. Every few minutes, I'd lean closer just to check. I kept expecting to feel something, the faintest warmth of air, the smallest rise in her chest. Nothing. At around 3:17 a.m., she spoke. Her eyes were still closed. "Why are you awake?" I flinched so hard I nearly rolled off the bed. "You're not breathing," I whispered. Silence. Then, "You're not breathing." Same tone, same delay. 3 seconds behind me. My throat felt dry. "Stop doing that." Pause. "Stop doing that." I slid out of bed. The floorboards creaked under my weight. She didn't move. I grabbed my phone. No signal. 3:19 a.m. I needed air. I needed to get out of that loft. I climbed down the ladder as quietly as I could. The cabin felt colder now, the kind of cold that seeps through clothes. I stood in the middle of the room and listened. Nothing. Then, a soft knock from inside the wall. I froze. It came from behind the kitchen area. 3 light taps. Deliberate. I stared at the wooden planks. "That's not real," I muttered to myself. From above me, in the loft, Emma's voice echoed down. "That's not real." But she said it after I did. 3 seconds later, my stomach dropped. I slowly looked up toward the loft opening. She was sitting up now, watching me, her head tilted slightly to the side, like she was studying something she didn't understand. "How long were you outside?" I asked. Silence. Then, "How long were you outside?" Her voice sounded almost curious. Another knock, this time closer to the bathroom wall. "Knock! Knock!" My pulse was hammering so loud I could hear it in my ears. "Emma," I said carefully, "come down here." She didn't move right away. Then, in a stiff, unnatural motion, she swung her legs over the side of the loft and climbed down. Every movement felt slightly off, like someone imitating how a person moves after watching it once. When her feet hit the floor, the knocking stopped. Dead silence again. We stood facing each other in the dim light. "You scared me earlier," I said. 3 seconds. "You scared me earlier." I took a slow step back. She mirrored me, not immediately, but after that same delay. like an echo with a heartbeat. "I'm going outside," I said. Her eyes widened just slightly. "I'm going outside." I moved toward the front door. She followed. Not at the same time, but after. Always after. I opened the door. The porch light flickered on, revealing the trees. And for a split second, just a split second, I thought I saw something standing at the edge of the woods. Tall. Too tall. But when I blinked, it was gone. I stepped out onto the porch. Emma stopped in the doorway behind me. The cold air hit my face. Then I heard it, from somewhere to the right of the cabin. A whisper, soft, fragile. My name, in Emma's voice, but not from behind me, from outside, from the wall, right next to where we were standing. I turned slowly, and that's when I realized the whisper wasn't coming from the forest. It was coming from inside the cabin walls. And it wasn't alone. The whisper came again. My name, soft, careful, right beside me. But Emma was still standing in the doorway behind me. I could feel her there without looking. Still, watching. "Did you hear that?" I asked. 3 seconds passed. "Did you hear that?" Her voice came from behind me, but at the same time, my name again, from inside the wall. This time closer to the floor. I turned slowly toward the cabin siding. The wood looked normal, rough, old, slightly warped from years of weather. Then something shifted behind it, not outward, inward, like pressure moving beneath skin. I stumbled back. Emma stepped onto the porch, but she didn't look at me. She was staring at the wall. Her mouth slowly curved into something that almost resembled a smile. The whisper changed. It wasn't just my name anymore. It was full sentences now. In her voice. I couldn't find it at first. That's what she had said earlier. But this time there was no delay. It came from the wall first. Then, 3 seconds later, Emma repeated it behind me. My blood ran cold. It wasn't copying her. She was copying it. Another sentence drifted through the wood. "You're staring." And like clockwork, "You're staring." 3 seconds behind. I grabbed her arm. Her skin felt wrong. Not cold, not warm, just still, like touching something that didn't have circulation. "Emma," I whispered, my voice shaking. "When you went to the car, what happened?" For the first time, she didn't repeat me. She blinked, slowly. Then her lips parted, and she spoke without delay. It was already there. The whisper in the wall grew louder, layered, dozens of quiet ems overlapping each other. It was already there. It was already there. It was already there. The wooden planks began to tremble slightly, as if something inside was pressing forward, testing the barrier. And then I understood. Whatever had been out there in the trees, whatever had taken 20 minutes to walk back from the car, hadn't followed her. It had stayed in the walls, learning, practicing, trying on her voice like clothes. And the thing standing next to me now was the rehearsal, a perfecting of movement, a delayed reflection. She turned her head toward me again, too smoothly this time, and whispered, "I'm almost right now." From inside the cabin, 100 versions of her voice repeated it instantly. "I'm almost right now." The porch light flickered. I didn't think. I just ran. Down the steps. Into the dark. Gravel cutting into my feet. Behind me I heard footsteps. But they weren't chasing. They were walking. Slow. Measured. And from inside the cabin walls, all the way around it, her voice followed me through the trees. Practicing. Repeating. Correcting itself. By the time I reached the road, the delay was gone. Her voice called my name from the forest. Perfectly timed. Perfectly natural. I never went back for my things. They found the cabin months later after a hiker reported strange noises coming from inside. The structure was intact. Untouched. No sign anyone had stayed there recently. But the ranger told me something I haven't been able to forget. When they stepped inside, they could hear breathing. from the walls, slow, in sync, like something in there had finally learned how.